When the police arrived, they found the man hog-tied and totally naked at the back of the boat. As always, Epstein is just pulling the strings behind the scene. But tell me why Cecile DeJohn, the first lady of the US Virgin Islands, is the witness to the sale. Remember the woman I showed you was running Epstein's island? I'm going to quickly recap the key points. In the previous video, I went through the emails and the documentation in detail, but for now, I'll keep it focused because there's a bigger update. She has just been arrested, and not for what you would expect. Her name is Anne, also known as Anna Rodriquez. For nearly 2 decades, she wasn't just an employee. She was the island manager, the person everyone reported to, Epstein's most trusted staff member. She had access to everything. The cabanas, the tunnels, even the master bedroom, across both Little St. James and Great St. James. She was trusted enough to be given the combination to Epstein's black box. And this wasn't just a job. She lived on the island full-time for nearly 20 years with her 2 daughters. And so it turns out she has still been living on the island, managing it nearly 7 years after Epstein's alleged self-deletion. At the end of this video, I'll put a card linking back to my initial investigation on Anne Rodriquez, but for now, this is sufficient background information. Now for this update, let's get started with the arrest records. You might be thinking to yourself, surely she got arrested for her involvement with an international multi-decade child ... ring. But what she actually got arrested for is false imprisonment and kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, and destruction of property. How the hell did she manage to do that? Well, according to the probable cause fact sheet, on March 1st, 2026, 2 brothers in the name of Eloy and Marcel Gil Sancho rented 2 jet skis and went to the island to film a documentary related to Little St. James. They wanted to record some footage of the island using a drone, but due to bad weather, the drone landed on the island. So Marcel swam to the island to retrieve the drone. And while they were leaving the area, a boat began pursuing them. They got split up, and the boat got caught up with Marcel. And Rodriquez starts pointing a gun that looks like a Glock at Marcel and starts yelling at him, "I will kill you." Anne, in all her wisdom, ordered Marcel to jump on the boat. She ordered him to kneel and place his hands behind his head. At this point, Eloy is like, "I am getting the out of here," to get some help. So Anne and 2 other men on the boat, likely employees of the island, are keeping Marcel against his will with a gun, which we later find out is actually a BB gun that looks like a Glock and doesn't have any of the safety and markings that would signify that it's a BB gun rather than a real gun. Anne takes the memory card out of the drone and throws it in the ocean. Once the police arrive, she admits that she pointed the gun at the guy, told him to get on the boat, and then transported him back to the island. When the police arrived, they found the man hog-tied and totally naked at the back of the boat. The male victim had been stripped and restrained on the boat, and luckily for the other brother going and seeking help from the police, this is as far as it got. Well, that's a speed run on catching 3 felonies if I've ever seen one. Either Anne is the most dedicated employee I've ever seen, or she is protecting this island as if it's her home, because it is. Now, it's not her only home, and things only get weirder from here on out. Before we proceed, if you enjoy digging through the public catacombs we call the internet, please subscribe. And now back to the video. Lucky for us, in a notice of filing of contact information, we actually get the second address for Anne Rodriquez. And there is a footnote here that clarifies while the defendant has a home at the Smith Bay address, as a part of her employment, she resides generally on Little St. James. You already know what your girl did. I went to Google Mapsing, and I was severely disappointed in how I did not get a result from the address on Google Maps. You think that's gonna stop me? No. So I kept on Googling, and the same business kept on popping up over and over again at this address. It's an Italian restaurant and art gallery called Romano's. And from an article written on the owner of Romano's, Tony Romano, the chef, we find out that the restaurant opened in 1988 and it was operational until it closed in the October of 2012. This article was written in 2013. He says he closed it last October. So it was open for 24 years until 2012. Now, even though the restaurant has been closed for over a decade, there's still crumbs left on the catacombs we call the internet, where we have a listing for the restaurant with the exact latitude and longitude of the location of the restaurant, along with a link to Google Maps showing the location of the restaurant. As you can see, it's on Smith Bay Road here. And it's right in this general area here. It looks like it's this building. Now, unfortunately, if you go on the street view, you cannot see anything, right? So if we go down here, it's supposed to be down this road, but there's a giant tree blocking it. And if you go past a little in the other direction, you can see the buildings here, but not much other than a for sale sign. But that's okay, because every state in America has a public land record ownership search and usually a GIS map that goes along with it. And in order to be able to investigate further, all I needed to know was the exact location on a map. But first, we can go to the US Virgin Islands recorder of deeds, whatever, for public records. And if we search this 6697 Smith Bay address in the public records, we get nothing. Luckily, there's a name search, and we'll try Anna Rodriguez. Nothing. I know sometimes you need to write it backwards, last name first, and boom, we got 2 records for a Smith Bay address, parcel 97. Okay, so I guess that 66 in the front doesn't matter for record lookup. Let's see what we got. 2017 first. Let's expand that out for you guys. All right, there we go. I'll squeeze to the side of the screen a little bit. We got a sale from people that previously owned the lot to Ann Rodriquez for a total sum of $300,000, parcel 97, estate Smith Bay. We know that the sale went through on February of 2017, but more importantly, we got the official parcel number from this. Because even on the GIS, if I search the actual address provided, I get nothing. But if I search the parcel number, we got a result. And Google Maps had thrown us right around here somewhere. I wasn't sure if it was this building or this one. I know these are markets. It looks like it's this one back here that had a for sale sign on it on Google Maps. We got the property ID and we got the new ownership, which we will shortly come back to. First, I want to discuss where the funds for this home came from. Would you like to take a guess? If you guessed Epstein, you would be correct. There's a trove of information in the files regarding the purchase of the 97 Smith Bay estate. In this email, Richard Kahn, Epstein's finance guy, mentions that he has the $280,000 escrow for closing in the sales agent's account and is asking Epstein, since the house is closing tomorrow, should she be present for the closing or just pick up the keys? And Epstein says, just pick up the keys. Here, Anna's letting Epstein know that she has to run to the bank to update the check amount for the down payment. And would you believe it? Epstein is even involved in the price negotiation phase. In this particular email, Anne says, oh, there's too much repairs to do. I don't want to pay the $326,000. I'll pay $300,000. No finance necessary. I wonder where she's getting $300,000 no finance in cash. We're back to the bank of Epstein. The realtor says, no, the seller wants to stand firm at $326 and says, okay, what other properties do you have? And Epstein responds to that forwarding saying, Anna, when I send an email to be forwarded, do not add anything. Ever. My guess is he told her what to tell the realtor to negotiate the price, and Anna did that and then added some embellishments to it, and Epstein was not happy about that. And about 2 weeks later, after the holiday season, the realtor responds saying, okay, I guess we'll take $300,000. Anna forwards it to Epstein, who says, right on schedule, do it. And Anne responds with a bunch of smiley faces, XOXO, gossip girl, heart, heart, heart. So it seems to me like, as always, Epstein is just pulling the strings behind the scene. It's Anna's house, but Epstein is doing the financing and giving her the instructions to be there at the closing or to pick up the keys and how much to pay for it and how to negotiate. But the purchase of the home isn't where Epstein's involvement ends. You see, he might be a complete piece of shit garbage, filth of the earth in regards to children, but he knows how to take care of the employee who runs his island. In this email, Anna's sending Epstein a long list of things that are still messed up and needs to be fixed with the house he basically just bought for her. And Epstein says, get me non-employee contractor prices to fix all this, thanks. And she says she will. This email gets a little messy. Basically, Anne's backyard fence needs to be fixed, so of course she comes to the Bank of Epstein asking for the cost of fixing the fence to be paid. But Richard Kahn, Epstein's finance guy, is scrutinizing things a little bit because she suggested one price at first and now it like tripled, and she's also using people that she knows to do the work and they're getting paid for it. She gets a little offended, saying, going forward, I will not use any more helpers or laborers that I know. I will contract the work to professional companies only. I never get clear understanding from anyone, and I'm tired of guessing what's right from what's wrong. Yeah, clearly she has a hard time figuring out what's right from what's wrong because she lived on that island full-time for nearly 2 decades, and it never occurred to her to report Epstein. I guess when he pays your salary and your kids' tuition and buys you a house, it gets a little easier to bury your head in the sand. According to this email, she's even using other Epstein Island employees to get some of this work done. Here we see Sylvester and Boniface, who also come up on the organizational chart for Jeffrey Epstein's island employees. Now, there's one more name here, just keep it in mind for the future because it's gonna come up again. Ahmad or Ahmad, I don't know how to pronounce it, the helper for Boniface. We got Epstein telling his finance guy to make sure Anna gets $10,000 to start buying some furniture. How generous of him. I mean, this all goes hand in hand with the stuff we discovered in the last video. It would almost be sweet, a rich guy really going above and beyond to take care of his employees, if the rich guy we are talking about wasn't Epstein. When he gets involved, the word sweet just kind of flies out of the room. And Anna's just constantly emailing Epstein with pictures of the work that's being done in the house. Oh, the cisterns are complete. Thank you so much. Oh, the flooring has been removed. The rooms have been repainted. It's starting to look so good. Thank you so much, Epstein. Oh, the kitchen cabinets. It's starting to look so good. OMG, this is so awesome. All right, so Epstein financed the whole house. He paid all the repair costs, and he paid the cost to furnish it. But that's not even the weirdest part. She purchased this house in 2017. All this money went into it, but according to the records, she turned around and sold it in 2018. Maybe you're thinking, okay, Anne is starting her house flipping journey. So guess how much she sold it for? Did you guess $10? Because that's how much she sold it for. She bought it for $300,000 and a year later sold it for $10. And interestingly, at the bottom of the public records for the sale of the home, in handwriting it is noted, for recording purposes, the value of the property is $256,000. So then why the hell is it getting sold for $10? It's been sold to a company called America Natal LLC. From the Virgin Islands Division of Corporation and Trademarks, we can get the entity name for America Natal LLC right here. And then if we go to search for corporations in the US Virgin Islands Division of Corporation and Trademarks website, and we got America Natal LLC. One and only. It looks like it was created a couple months before the sale of the home in 2018, and it has become inactive in 2023. Now, if you search America Natal LLC online, this is all you get. Public records and more public records, just 2. Yet, 3 years after the company has been shut down and no longer exists, it still owns this property at 97 Smith Bay. It is rare to find a company in the age of the internet where it has no footprints online at all, nothing in relation to what kind of business it does, other than corporate records showing that it was created and then it was dissolved. America Natal LLC only exists on paper. It was created a few months before Rodriquez sold the property for $10. And even after it's been dissolved, it looks like the only thing it has ever done is own this property. If this isn't a shell company, I don't know what is. But let's give Anne some benefit of the doubt. Maybe in the heat of the moment of brandishing a gun and screaming at someone that you're going to kill them, she had a brain aneurysm and forgot that she sold this property for $10 back in 2018 and technically no longer owns it. And that's how she ended up reporting it as her address on court records in 2026. Well, remember that Ahmud fella I mentioned that Anne was hiring to get some work done at her house? Among the back and forth she has with Richard Kahn regarding hiring people she knows versus professional contractors? Well, I found an arrest record for a fella named Ahmud Rodriquez back from August of 2019 for a not very serious marijuana offense. What's interesting is the factual and procedural background section of this record. In it, it mentions that a police officer was conducting an inspection of the Smith Bay area in the vicinity of Louis Market. Louis Market is right here. This is American Natal LLC's property now. And wouldn't you know, they observed a fella identified as Ahmud Rodriquez sitting in a blue chair inside a boat trailer in the yard of Smith Bay number 97. He was rolling a marijuana cigarette, they arrested him, etc. That's interesting. Now, I do want to point out that Ahmud Rodriguez's last name is spelled with a G, whereas Anne Rodriguez's last name is spelled with a Q. In the last investigation on Anne Rodriguez, we saw the various different ways in which these folks tend to spell their names. I have a hunch that they are related, especially considering she was hiring a fella named Ahmud to do some work for her, a fella she knew who shares an oddly similar last name to her. Based on his date of birth in 1994, I can't tell you exactly if this is a son or a nephew, a brother, an uncle, cousin, whatever. But what I found next makes me think even more so that they are related. Now, the next update we get from Ahmud Rodriquez, and I feel like I'm definitely butchering this guy's name, but it is what it is. A couple months after the marijuana arrest, he gets arrested again for illegally transporting a female passenger from the British Virgin Islands to the US Virgin Islands without a visa or documentation in exchange for a cash payment. He got caught by the Border Patrol agents and he was sentenced to 6 months of prison, which got substituted for 6 months of home detention and 4 years of probation, which I think is kind of light for an offense that technically counts as human smuggling, but that's neither here nor there. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, on account of his probation from his human smuggling case, in 2022, when he went to the ER as a patient but had a gun on him, he got arrested on account of having unauthorized firearms in his possession and ammunition and being within 1,000 feet from a school. Now, most of those charges did eventually get dropped, except failure to report firearm and ammo purchase, which you're not supposed to do under his probation terms. But what's interesting is, if we go back to the record cert and look for parcel 97 with Smith's Bay, we get additional records, the most recent one of which is Ahmud Rodriquez related, listed as undertaking. When we open the document, we learned that for the 2022 case, he needed a bail amount of $25,000, and it turns out that our one and only Anne-Marie Rodriquez decided to undertake this $25,000 bail for Ahmud Rodriquez by virtue of putting a lien on her property at number 97 Smith Bay. This is not where the weirdness with this property ends, but before moving forward, let's go ahead and do a quick recap. So Anne Rodriquez, entirely with Epstein funds, buys this property for $300,000 back in 2017, fixes it up, then sells it for $10 in 2018, a year later, to a company called American Natal LLC that only exists on paper, which was created a couple months before the sale of the property. And this company is dissolved during 2023, although it still owns the property in 2026. All the while, also in 2026, Anne Rodriquez is listing this property as her address, and in 2019, allegedly a year after she sold the house, someone who I'm fairly convinced has some close ties to her was hanging out and around that, where he got arrested. And then in 2022, Anne Rodriquez puts a lien on this property, again 4 years after she allegedly sold it, in order to bail out this fella named Ahmed Rodriquez. This just kind of feels like a very lazy attempt to cover up the true ownership of the property. I'm pretty sure American Idol LLC is Anne Rodriguez, is owned by Anne Rodriguez, is controlled by Anne Rodriguez. It's simply a shell company to own this property without the name Anne Rodriguez being the owner of the property. At least that's what I've gathered from the public records. Now, if you made it this far into the video, I'm definitely curious about your opinion, so put it in the comments if you have any idea what the hell is going on here. Now, I promised you something else that was weird with the sale of this property, and here it is. So we're selling it for $10, but tell me why Cecile DeJohn, the First Lady of the US Virgin Islands, the wife of the Governor of the US Virgin Islands, is the witness to this sale. If you've been digging through the catacombs with me for a while now, you already know that Cecile DeJohn, the former First Lady of the US Virgin Islands, is all over the Epstein files, and I mean thousands of entries. And as I've said before, she definitely deserves an investigation dedicated just to her. But until I can make that happen, just to show you the depth of her involvement with Epstein, JP Morgan dragged the former First Lady into a lawsuit accusing her of aiding Epstein's crimes by virtue of arranging visas, jobs, and travel for some of the victims, helping him skirt sex offender monitoring laws, spreading his wealth and influence over the Virgin Islands, in addition to working as his office manager in Epstein's Southern Trust Company and getting paid a yearly salary for it, with bonuses in addition to getting her kids' tuition paid, which allowed her and the governor to divert their funds into his electoral campaign, while she was also on the board of the Jeffrey Epstein Virgin Islands Foundation, making oh so charitable donations in his name around the island to bolster his public image and influence. Alright, me trying to stay focused here, that brings us back to why the hell is Cecile DeJohn the witness to this transaction of property from Anne Rodriguez, Epstein's island manager, to a shell company for $10. And I double checked other property sale records just to make sure I'm not going crazy. No, it's not the norm for the First Lady of the state or territory to serve as the witness to every real estate property transaction. It's not like her ceremonial duty or anything. And guess who the second witness to this property transaction is? A person in the name of Cash Kim Busu. We're gonna ignore that last name because I don't know how to pronounce it, but Cash Kim, who happens to work for the US Virgin Islands government at St. Thomas in the position of compliance analyst at the Office of Management and Budget. And naturally, Cash Kim is also mentioned in the Epstein files nearly 3,000 times. Now, before we go back to Anne Rodriguez, I found one other interesting connection between Romano's Restaurant and Art Gallery, the business that used to run out of the location that now Anne Rodriguez puts down as her address, and former First Lady / Epstein bestie Cecile DeJohn. The restaurant held a benefit event called Welcome to Gulu that was designed to raise money for kids in Uganda who have suffered through the horrors of SA, human trafficking, and child soldiering. And they discuss how they wanted to host it in St. Thomas because the US Virgin Islands has a long history of having ties with Africa. Specifically, recently, the First Lady Cecile DeJohn has launched a project called Project Rwanda, which if we go back to the files, we do find a flyer relating to Project Rwanda where it tells you that the J. Epstein Virgin Islands Foundation Inc. is a great friend and donator of this project. Tell me I'm not the only one who sees the irony and ridiculousness in the guy who ran an international SA and human trafficking organization centered around children, having his foundation donate money to a cause that supports kids in Africa who suffered through SA and human trafficking. I mean, I'm not laughing because it's funny, it's just ludicrous. Gotta collect that good PR and influence. And somehow the DeJohn family influence regarding this real estate transaction doesn't end there. When the property was initially sold to N. Rodriquez back in 2017, the person who was a witness to this transaction was Jane C. Kellogg. And if we look this person up on LinkedIn, we find out that they work as a paralegal at Birch, DeJohn, and Hindle's law firm. And when we look at the power of attorney documentation for the sale of the property to N. Rodriquez back in 2017, we also see that James H. Hindle from the Birch, DeJohn, and Hindle law firm was involved. And let me tell you something, this came up when I was doing the investigation regarding the Epstein model that became Leon Black's art dealer. Law firms that are servicing potentially questionable clientele, for some reason, never have anything on their website other than their name and their contact information. It was the same thing with the immigration lawyer Epstein hired for Anastasia Syrishenko. Every regular law firm I've seen, they'll have a category for who works there. They'll have a category for which field and types of law they do, some customer recommendations and reviews. But every lawyer I run into in the Epstein circle, it's just the law firm's name and their contact information, and that's it. And according to Internet Archives, it has been like this since 2011. 2026, website is currently under construction. 2011, website currently under construction. I guess Birch, DeJohn, and Hindle's law firm's website never left the construction stage, but they sure know how to handle business for Epstein-related clientele. Now, that was all the information I was able to pull out from the March 1st, 2026 incident, which resulted in Ann Rodriguez's arrest. But would you believe it? Less than 2 months after that incident, at the end of April 2026, like 2 weeks ago, Ann Rodriguez's daughter's boyfriend gets arrested for a very similar incident. So the story as we have it from the probable cause fact sheet goes, Paul J. Arnold III, Ann's daughter's boyfriend, is arrested for simple assault because there was a fellow named Benjamin Owen taking pictures and other documentarian type on the island, who they restrained with duct tape and bound his face and body. When Paul Arnold arrived at the island, apparently he was displaying aggressive demeanor and directed verbal outburst towards the police at the scene. He later exited an all-terrain vehicle while the forensics team was photographing the scene and proceeded to walk past multiple law enforcement personnel. Then the person writing this report says that he heard a loud impact consistent with a physical strike, and another officer who was photographing the scene saw firsthand the assault. After Paul Arnold was arrested, he gave a voluntary statement saying that his girlfriend called and said this guy pushed him and she's pregnant, and that's why he hit the guy. So he's being charged with simple assault, and we learned that Emery Polian, Anna Rodriguez's daughter, is on the island with her. Apparently, Paul Arnold also said that the documentarian had been restrained by the island personnel in an effort to detain him and protect the island. Brother, why are you still protecting this island? You don't even have an employer. Who is paying their salary? Is it Epstein's estate? I know some new rich guy bought the island, but they're going through a lot of effort to protect this island, man. And Rodriguez is waving a gun around, screaming, "I'm gonna kill you," and then hog tying a guy. He's hitting a guy. They're duct taping this guy. All of Little St. James Island employees get Employee of the Month this month. Now, if you hung in here this long with me, I got the real prize for you. Because remember how in the last video, Ann Rodriguez had already deactivated her Instagram account? Well, I found her Facebook account, and it's public. It is public as We went into great detail regarding Ann Rodriguez's daughters, Emery Polian and Sierra Polian, and their emails back and forth with Epstein in the last video. I wasn't able to find any records for Emery Polian. However, I did search Polian and found an Empress Mia Polian, and I was wondering if Emery is like a shorthand for Empress Mia. It's a simple traffic violation, nothing serious. But from here, I was like, Emery Polian doesn't really have any social media. We already looked at Sierra's in the last video. Let me try Empress Mia Polian. I found her Facebook, and boy did I hit the jackpot, because it is also all public. Now, in the last investigation, we estimated Emery's date of birth to be somewhere between 1999 and 2001. conservatively speaking, based on when she applied for and got accepted to college. However, on the traffic ticket for Empress Neapolitan, the date of birth given is 04. So I think this is just another daughter of Anne Rodriguez. I also found out that she actually has quite a few more kids than I thought based on her Facebook we're going to take a look at momentarily. Going forward, I want to clear up all the kids are now adults, but nonetheless, please do not reach out to anyone I'm about to show you. Do not harass anyone. That's not what we're about in the Catacomb clan. We just like to lurk from the bushes. And while I was digging around on her Facebook, I came across a post she made back in 2015 with a woman that looks very much so like Anne Rodriguez, but we don't have to question it because she tagged the post Anne Rodriguez. And guess who responded? Anne Rodriguez. Now, Anne Rodriguez locked her Facebook profile, but luckily that's not where our digging ends. Because Empress posted a reel on Mother's Day with a bunch of pictures of Anne saying, "Happy Mother's Day, I love you forever." Very sweet. And the first comment is from a woman named Monique Polian responding, "Aw, Empress, mommy, love you, love you." The Facebook account under the name of Anne Rodriguez might be locked, but Monique Polian's is public. Now, she definitely looks a little different in her less did-up Instagram pictures versus the Facebook pictures where she nailed her makeup, angles, filter, lighting, etc. But luckily, we don't need to rely on picture comparisons alone to confirm that Monique Polian is Anne Rodriguez. In the reel Empress Polian posted of her mom, there's a comment from Latoya Rodriguez saying, "That was beautiful. What a great daughter she is, Monique. That's right. Show your mama that love. Happy Mother's Day, sis." So Monique Polian's sister is someone with the last name Rodriguez. Monique posted a picture collage with the caption "Moonshine." When you search Monique Polian Moonshine on Google, you find a LinkedIn account named Rodriguez-Polian Monique. And in the experiences section, you'll see Moonshine Cleaning Services, and she lists herself as the company owner. And if you're not convinced yet, it's okay, I got you, because Monique posted a name test from Facebook where it says, "What does your maiden name say about you as a woman?" And the maiden name listed on the post is Rodriguez. And here it's spelled with a G, again going back to from the last video and earlier in this video. They seem to just change the spelling of their first and last names like they change clothes. And I reckon that might have something to do with the shady line of business she is in. Monique also posted a picture of her father-in-law's funeral service. And if we locate the obituary for her father-in-law and go to the survived by section, you'll see that Empress Polian, Emery Polian, and Sierra Polian are mentioned under grandchildren, including Israel Polian, which is Monique/Anne Rodriguez's son, and also Monique Polian is mentioned as a daughter-in-law. Jeff Polian is mentioned as a stepchild, and if you guys remember in the last video, Jeff is the name of Sierra and Emery's dad. So unless someone's gonna convince me that two different women could give birth to the same child, I'm pretty sure Anne Rodriguez is Monique Polian. I think the name Anne Rodriguez, being that it's all over the files, got a little too hot, so she decided to switch to using her married name. Her middle name is Marie, so I'm not really sure where Monique comes from, but again, better than Anne Rodriguez right now. She's posted as recently as this February, which this stuff kind of gets on my nerves because it's talking about a missing 16-year-old girl. Oh, it takes 2 seconds to share. I mean, you could just like not have worked for an international child predator, but okay, I'm sure you care. Some AI-generated image of herself looking way better than how I imagine she looks IRL. Some self-motivational bullshit, such as, "To the woman I was, I love you. To the woman I am, I'm proud of you. To the woman I'm becoming, I'm excited for you." Ma'am, there's not much to be proud of for having worked as Epstein's island manager. Well, I don't even know what to call this, just more bullshit. You can't be complicit in what you've been complicit in and then be like, yep, God got me. More posts of a missing woman. Yep, so that's Anne Rodriguez's current public identity. If you're interested in the details and seeing the evidence and the Epstein emails proving further Anne Rodriguez's involvement and day-to-day activities as the island manager for Jeffrey Epstein, please watch my previous investigation on the topic. I'll put it on the end cards for this video, but I also only have like 11 videos, so if you just do like one scroll on my channel, you'll definitely find it. Before we close off, I would like to give a special shout out to 2 members of the Catacomb clan who was, oh my god, Kitty. That tail be wildin'. The first is Dick's Gun, who let me know that Anne Rodriguez had been arrested. The second is Tasha King, who brought to my attention in the comments section of the previous Anne Rodriguez investigation that this Anna could potentially be the Anna from the audio in the files discussing disposing of a deer body that was floating around on X for a while. I went back and dug up the audio, and after listening to it, I am happy to announce that I'm pretty confident Tasha's right, and the Anna in the audio is Anne, aka Anna Rodriguez. Now the DOJ seems to have a way of retroactively disappearing files, so I'm gonna go ahead and run the audio. It is a little longer, but I just kind of want to have a backup of it within my video. But before we do that, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoy digging through the public catacombs we call the internet, please subscribe. It got me really hyped when I got these comments that were giving me more threads to pull on. That was kind of my dream with this YouTube channel, is we could kind of get together and dig and like cyber sleuth as a group. So you guys are putting a smile on my face. Maybe we'll have to do a live at some point. All right, here's the audio for archival purposes. And I'm gonna pull up the org chart for when a name of someone else who works on the island is mentioned.
So I'm confused because this is upsetting. I was told Peter showed up on his own. Peter said he called and spoke to you guys.
Not me.
Peter, you didn't speak to Danny?
Nobody talking.
He wants to get to the bottom of this, and I want to get to the bottom of this because this is my ass. This is not y'all ass. Okay? I called you last night. You said you did not speak to Peter.
I did, till we got here.
Peter said he called and spoke to you.
I talked to Peter.
So Guy talked to Peter. Peter talked to Guy. No one talked to Danny. No one decided to call Anna.
Exactly.
Basically, that's what it is. No, you called me after the fact. You didn't call me when the fucking boat crashed. No one called me. Let's get that straight. Listen, I got the message from you midnight. Did it happen at midnight? No. Did anybody think to call me and say they're going to use the boat to come get some dead fucking deers? No. No, right?
No, you're right.
And now we're dealing with this shit. Look at the boat. Look at the man's boat. This is bullshit.
No, it's a nightmare.
You the head electrician. You like one of the head landscapers. I finally got you a gig as a boat captain, and this is the bullshit I'm dealing with. This is bullshit. All y'all know better than this shit. This man is livid right now with us. I mean, I don't even know what. I'm so fucking cross right now, right? This fuck makes no sense.
Extremely. Especially after we had good successful evening.
This is just completely, this makes absolutely no sense.
This is what I got
No
really
sense.
pissed off about. I told both of these guys, I said, you want these deers, you wait for the morning. And then all of a sudden...
But that was the plan, to kill them, wait till daylight, and then we dispose of them properly. And then I get these calls and this bullshit happened. This is the man's crew boat. It's bad enough he don't have another boat.
Yeah.
We don't have another boat. What are we going to use? A barge? How much money is that going to cost us to run the staff back and forth on a damn barge now? This is bullshit. This is bullshit.
Okay, so a few things to clear up real quick. Denny Vicars, aka the head of engineering, electrical, plumbing, he sometimes goes by the name Guy Vicars. When I was doing the initial investigation and I was early to the party and had found her Instagram but didn't think to take more detailed screenshots because of course she's not gonna figure things out and deactivate her Instagram, but she did. Anyway, I was going through her followers and there was a guy named Guy Vicars there and I thought to myself, the same last name. So I don't have a screenshot of that, unfortunately, from the Instagram, but I did show you guys an email that there is a Guy Vicars that works on the island. When this audio was first being sent around, people were like, oh, is deer code for something? Are they disposing of human bodies? No, there are some emails where they're talking about how Epstein is like sick of the ticks on the island. So they're gonna go ahead and like kill the deer and get rid of the deer so that they can in effect get rid of the ticks or control the tick population. But I just think it is so hilarious that Epstein's boat got wrecked. Fuck that guy. But also he's filthy rich, like he can afford another boat, it's fine. Anyway, that's it from me this week, guys. It is midnight and I have to work tomorrow, so time for bed. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next week.